Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss current affairs and specifically the feature news for today, that is 25th of February 2022. Today's feature news is on a very beautiful theme, the free trade agreements that India has been conducting lately. And in specific, we are going to talk about UAE, but we will also discuss the issues in general and the kind of advantages India has in general. So let me welcome all of you here. Hi Amlan, Hima, Netra, Kriti, Ashish, Vakram, Tiyasha, Somik, Vivek, good evening to you. And then we also have Kanupriya, good evening. All right, so getting us back to the main topic, that is the feature news from the world of series and movies. All right, so this is a very important topic considering India has had set very ambitious targets for India's export, right? India's trade, especially in the times when there is disruption happening in the economy. Vivek, I have taken a note on the point. I will get it done. I'll get it done. So before we get into the depth of the article, let me quickly tell you the free trade agreement, what it means and where all in India has these kind of agreements done. Now, free trade agreement primarily means an agreement with another country or an association which ensures that the bilateral or multilateral movement of goods, services are at reduced tariffs or exempted of any tariff, any taxation, any non-tariff barriers, they are reduced or eliminated, right? India has conducted free trade agreements or multiple level of comprehensive economic partnership agreements, etc. With many countries. They largely lie in three type of block of countries. When you see India here, the first kind of block is its immediate neighborhood. When we see a country like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, Afghanistan, right? So these are the countries with which India has done one type of agreement. This is one type of countries. The second kind of countries India has targeted is through its Look East and Act East policy. The Southeast Asian countries, also the 10 Southeast Asian countries including South Korea and Japan. This is the second kind of place it has conducted agreements like this. And the third place where it has conducted is disparate levels. For example, negotiating it with USA, with European Union, and then we also have another country here, UAE, Australia, each of them. Now, India has had different agenda at all these places. Although India has wanted, see what is free trade agreement? It is an agreement which ensures that the movement of goods, whether it be export or import, they are eventually free, right? So they will begin with lesser levels of import duty or export duty and they'll actually get eliminated in due course of time. But this is a two-way process. While India will get advantage, it might also have to lose, right? So this is a two-way process. Now, India is a developing country and India doing trade with USA, with European Union countries or developed countries like UAE, Australia, is it advantageous or not? Yes, it could be advantageous, it could be disadvantageous depending on the complementarity or competitiveness of the market. Very simple example of this is that when India conducted these kind of free trade agreements with countries in Southeast Asia, these economies, although mid-level or advanced level economies, they were already prospering in some of these fields. And rather than India being the country which could indulge in greater exports, we also had a lot of imports from these countries, right? So on one hand, India wanted to leverage the benefit, but on the other hand, these economies were far more capable to be able to export items to India. So we did not choose our partners that efficiently. On the other hand, if we look at some other countries, for example, USA, the market is untapped. They need those specific goods which we produce. UAE, we will discuss the complete case of UAE, how it is far beneficial for a country like India to trade with UAE. A beautiful case study. This free trade agreement was negotiated within 3 months. Years and years it takes to negotiate a free trade agreement. India has still been negotiating. Southeast Asian countries, India has been trading, right? Then we also have had Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, just agreements and negotiations, but India conducted this very fast. So this is a beautiful case study. Let us understand some of the issues in free trade agreements that India has conducted with various countries. What are the ways in which free trade agreement progresses and what are the advantages India has, right? So while India conducts trade with any country, right, the first level of integration with any economy is its free trade agreement. Free trade agreement. This is a very low level of agreement where the exchanging items, the items that are exchanged, for example, if I say the free trade agreement will be conducted for these several items, the items which are not placed in the negative list, those items could be, for example, if I want to trade in textile, so both the countries will decrease their barriers on textile trade. So earlier, if the percentage of taxation, import duty was imposed at 10%, now they will say we will have it as 5%, and in times to come we will reduce it to 0%. In 10 years we will reduce it to 0%. Both the countries will have to do that. And if in textile trade India has the upper hand, the other country might negotiate saying that in that case allow us to export dairy items to you. See, why India has got the upper hand in textile is because textile is largely manual driven. You people know that a decent chunk of the economy, GDP, and lot of people employed in textile business. So India has the upper hand, quality and tropical country. On the other hand, the other countries say that in that case we will negotiate, and we also want dairy to be exchanged between countries. So this is how negotiation happens. The first level is free trade agreement, where they try to reduce the tariffs between countries. There are many trade agreements which have happened. For example, amongst North American countries, America, USA, Canada, and Mexico have a trade agreement, right? Similarly, Mercosur is the one for South America, where Brazil, Argentina, and then we have Paraguay and Uruguay. These four countries are a part of this trading group. ASEAN is the one, and then we also have other trading blocks, for example, SAARC itself. So these are the blocks. The first level is only for product items, not services. The second level is the one in which they conduct it for services also. That is called as Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. There are various names given, but notwithstanding name, first is product and the second one is services, and after that it is exchange of people, right, facilitated further, and after that they also look at various other issues. For example, non-tariff barriers are looked at, right? They also look at further investments between each other. Various other things are looked at when you know there is a further better level of integration. It starts with free trade agreement, right? So after free trade agreement, they look at custom union. Custom union is the one where this complete block, the complete block of countries becomes one, and then they will have common trade barriers for all the countries away from this custom union, right? So common external tariffs. Suppose if South Asia region has a custom union, that means when we import from Madagascar, then India will impose the same tariff as Afghanistan. Export as well, same. Common market is the one where free movement of all the capital and services will be there, right? Different national regulations. And after that, economic union. Economic union is what European Union is currently going through. They have complete economic union, complete mobility between countries, right? Not even stamping of visas or passports is required when they move. Economic union. And after that, there's a stage of political union or political integration, in which there are no borders to be considered, right? So this is the stage of economic integration. We are looking at the first level, not that we want to integrate completely with them, but at least conduct trade freely so that it is advantageous to us and them also in some way. So let us understand what are the prime issues here. Now we have conducted this kind of agreement, as I mentioned, with three different type of countries, right? Three different set of countries, and each of them had different context. India wanted to support the economies, right? Act as a country which had the source of these supplies and reduce the tariff for its nearby countries. Those were the neighbors, immediate neighbors. This is the first agenda. First type of countries. The second type of countries are the Southeast Asian nations, where India also felt that reducing this tariff could have given some advantage, although it is a mixed bag of report. For example, South Korea and Japan, we have a lot of deficit from them, right? They are far more exporters to us than we exporting to them. Look at South Korean technology, Hyundai, right? Look at South Korean technologies, Kia Sports, Kia cars, right? And look at Japanese technology. There are innumerable companies from all these countries, right? Now, Samsung is also South Korean, no? Right? And Japanese companies, innumerable of them. So we have had trade barriers, although we conducted free trade agreement, CEPA with them. Now what to do? Nothing can be done. We can only learn from the lesson that we should have chosen, or we should be choosing partners very carefully. What are the other issues? Let's look at that. So when we conduct free trade agreements, let us not conduct them with competing economies. We must look at the complementarity of the economies, or those economies which are in need of the services that we have. USA needs our services at places, IT services. Let's do that. Right, let's make it more cheaper for them and easier mobility for us, right? So we'll provide them wider level of services, we'll have a better integration with their economy. Similarly, European countries, what about UAE, demands a lot of things from us. We will discuss that. Low international growth, negotiating now some issues here are, for example, if we do these kind of free trade agreements with countries, we have the power to negotiate with them, and that we have not done fruitfully at various places, right? And also we have set ambitious paths. One simple example of the kind of challenge that we face is that of intellectual property, right? After we conduct a negotiation with a country, they are ready to import, they are ready to export their items to us, but they fear big time what we will do with their imports to us. If we reverse engineer that, if we produce it again, and if we do not even protect their intellectual property, what happens to the product? It is, the whole information is declassified and it can be remanufactured in our country. So this is one challenge that these countries face. Intellectual property regime in India is weak. We have covered this, right? So the opportunity becomes a loss for the other country, and they do not want to export to India at lesser prices, right? Then largely we have been a defensive economy because we have had lesser levels of mechanization, we have lesser levels of automation, and mechanization, automation leads to scalability. This is how we were overpowered by the Southeast Asian countries. They have better scalability resources, they were able to export better to India, and that is why they had the upper hand between the trade, right? So these are the issues. And on the other hand, we have not been diversifying our trade to different regions. For example, Focus Africa. There was a scheme called as Focus Africa, Focus Latin America, right? These are the places where there is a potential to trade, but then we have not looked at those places. We have only been circulating ourselves in the nearby areas. See, this is where the new trade agreements, we have diversified ourselves, look at the emerging partners of focus, and we have also asked for greater market access. See, we have asked for greater market access with Southeast Asian countries also, but the issue with South Asian countries was that we were only negotiating market access. We did not look at the further nuances. For example, one of the issue with the Southeast Asian countries is the country of origin issue, right? A major impact. Now, there's another issue that these Southeast Asian blocks, there's a complete economic integration between the Southeast Asian countries, ASEAN, and if we have, so let's discuss each of them one by one. When there is a issue of country of origin must be mentioned clearly, so that we understand if we are importing from Bangladesh, it is a product which is created in Bangladesh, or value addition has been done in Bangladesh sufficient level so that we are able to import it at a subsidized cost, right? On the other hand, many products from China, they get illegally sent to Bangladesh, or not only illegally, but China might be dumping them to Bangladesh. Now Bangladesh and India, they're doing illegal trade, not legally but illegally, and then we do not understand the country of origin. Somehow or the other we are promoting Chinese goods in India at subsidized cost, and this is hurting our economy. We never negotiated that Santa Claus caps be passed on to India. We never negotiated that the Diwali diyas be passed to India, but all getting created. We never wanted the twinkling lights in our country which was created in China. We never wanted firecrackers which were created in China, but yet they are getting transported because we do not have the policy to protect the country of origin. Market access we demanded, we got it, but then country of origin issue still this was not counted. Similarly, ASEAN economies, a simple example of this is Vietnam. Suppose we have a preferential trade agreement with Vietnam, right? So we conduct trade agreements with Vietnam. We have negotiated it between ourselves, knowing what are their strengths and what are our strengths. But Vietnam has a complete access, free access of resources with ASEAN. Imagine this. So India will be able to import items at a good price, at good prices from Vietnam, but exporting to Vietnam would not want it, because there are countries like Malaysia, there are countries like Indonesia providing cheaper products. Simple example is plastic. Plastic waste तो maximum यहीं से होता है ना, Indonesia, Malaysia and China. So these countries, Vietnam is not importing plastic from India. It is importing from ASEAN countries because it has got a free trade association here, ASEAN association. On the other hand, India is on the receiving end of Vietnam because all the products of all the countries here and Vietnam itself are accessible to India. So we are importing more and exporting less. See? So we negotiated the market access, we got it, but we did not look at the side effects of this issue. We should be negotiating with the complete block in that way, or we should be blocking these kind of products which have issues of access, right? So you can very well see what we are talking of here. Market access. Now is when India has started looking at various partners, complementary partners, USA, UK, Australia, UAE. These are developed countries. They have the power of resources, power of finances. They want the labor to be done by a country like India. So India is looking at that, right? So this is a good destination. They are also ready to invest in India. Also note diaspora. India's diaspora is also not less in UAE, USA, UK, Australia. All of them have got decent amount of India's diaspora. So investments, emotional attachment is further increased here, right? So if you look at one important thing, what is the kind of extension to the relationship that countries have? First level of extension is trade in goods. The second level of extension of these these kind of agreements is extension it to services. So services, providing various services, banking services, IT services. The third level of extension of free trade agreement is the one in which people have, there's a free movement of people across the nations. India, Singapore, India, UK, India, USA, right? Those are the agreements. And then the fourth level is the one in which people look at behind the border issues. For example, do you have a better intellectual property or not? Will you be screwdrivering my technology? Don't do that, please. Please protect my patent. So this is one. Investments. I'm providing you so much. Will you provide some investment to us? UAE has invested more than $80 billion in India. $80 billion. Imagine this. The bilateral trade is only $60 billion, but they have invested more because they see the future in India. Similarly, the regulatory coherences. Remember, we had discussed the bilateral treaties for insolvency resolution. This is the regulatory coherences. Start relating it to that, right? You should also look at free trade agreements from the perspective of ease of doing business, right? Because when the countries look at only exporting and importing, this is not just going to restrict to them. They also see if they are partners, can we have better stable relationship with them so that we can negotiate further grounds, we can create our manufacturing base in that country itself. These are the kind of issues which are really looked at the ground levels. If you become an entrepreneur, if you become a business person, you will actually look at this, that you conduct a trade with the other person, you will want to know, bhai, wo आपस में लड़ते तो नहीं है मियां बीबी, they don't fight, no. So this is safe for me because the day they fight, my supplies will stop that day. So Ukraine, Russia, husband and wife, if they're fighting with each other, the supplies to India will get curtailed. So let's have relationship with UAE only where we get good transfer of solar energy, and let us not look at the gases from Russia. See? So regulatory coherences, right? What about other measures like non-tariff barriers like animal restraints, laws, animal protection, human rights, right, child rights, all of them. They are important reasons because of which non-tariff barriers also play a major role, right? So in case of, so this is the broad point, and let us now understand quickly what is happening with some of the countries. So when you look at a country like USA, India and USA, India is negotiating a free trade agreement with them. And look at the kind of imports that USA needs. USA needs petroleum, machinery, gems, jewelry, pharma, automobiles, auto components, organic chemicals. Bhai, we are rich in all this. We can provide all of this. Machinery, gems and jewelry, pharma, automobiles, auto components. Yeah, establish these factories in India. No, why not? So, this is what India can actually target. When they need this much, and the interesting part is India has not exploited this. The potential is very high and India has not utilized this. Not only with USA, the untapped potential is 60%. That is the capacity that we could have traded with USA is less. And with European Union, it is further less. We have not traded with them at all, right? What is required is to export the capital goods, the produced goods and import the raw material. But what we actually do is export the raw material and import the product finished item. The simple example is iron. We export to them the iron ore, China, and we bring back the iron sheets, right? The iron blocks. This is such a pity. We should have those entities in India so that we are able to produce these capital goods in the country, right? So this is where we have to choose the partners very carefully, and China is one country nobody would like to have these kind of partnership with, because China is excellent in all of them, right? So when you look at a trading partner like UAE, a very developing, quite a developed country in fact. So let me quickly take you through the kind of relationship that India and UAE have. When Rafale was being purchased, when it was to be brought to India, UAE said, fine, you have a stock now. Chai samosa kha ke jao hamare paas. Your fighter pilots, they can come down, they can refuel the planes and they can go. Imagine which country will allow its defense, procurements to land on their soil. India wouldn't allow. India is a very secure country in that regard, but UAE and India have got, good rapport. This is one point, right? This trade agreement was signed just in 3 months because there was a greater complementarity, right? India, UAE have signed a pact for free trade agreement, and this is CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. We are understanding, in the process of understanding what this is about. In the Defense Expo, in the expo that was organized in UAE, a global expo, world level expo, India was given a major chunk of land so that they could have a better show, right? Not only that, UAE also invited India to Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. Pakistan wasn't happy, UAE didn't bother. Notwithstanding that, UAE invited him. Sushma Swaraj went and met. So when UAE became a United Arab Emirat, the 6 different provinces, they all combined and then one of them is Sharjah, another one is Dubai, another one is Abu Dhabi. So 6 of them combined. India was one of the first countries to recognize them in the year 1972. So they have time-tested friendship, olden times. So they said, fine, let us, is dosti ko rishtedari mein kyun nahi badalte, right? Let's convert this friendship into an association. So this is what they did. In fact, Dubai, UAE is a country which has got a good population. Around 25% of population of the whole country is Indian. And they said, let's construct a temple for you, not a problem. So this is the kind of resilience and attachment they have to India. And seeing the kind of attachment, UAE also says, we want to invest in your country now. So there are many places they have invested. One good example is Jammu and Kashmir. Wow, it is very, very hot in UAE. Right, it's Registan, Marustan, and now it's a hot desert, and Jammu Kashmir is very cold. So now they want to experience that. So they say we will invest in hospitality in India, in Jammu Kashmir. We also will conduct have the food processing sector initiative with your country. Why? Because growing agriculture crops there is tough, but India has got farmers. India has got food processing sector. So please export your cashew nuts, export your apples, export your oranges, export all the products that you have to us. No problem. We will also invest in your country. See, look at the complementarity between both the countries, right? So production complementarity is what UAE and India can go through. UAE wouldn't conduct this with Vietnam. India is not only closer, there's also the diaspora. That is the impactful thing here, right? So this is the reason that they conducted this kind of treaty. They're very happy because till now they have been conducting around $60 billion of trade with each other, and $60 billion of mutual trade, export, import included, and they want to translate it to $100 billion within the next 5 years. This is the immediate goal that they have laid upon themselves, right? So, and not only UAE, look at how India wants to extend from UAE. You look at the map here. When you look at the map here, very clearly you will be able to see that UAE is a country in the Middle East, right? But through UAE, we can expand our outreach to the complete Gulf Cooperation Council or the complete Middle East. UAE itself wants to project its image as an advanced country, as a non-oil economy. It has got its commitment to itself, non-oil economy by 2030. We want to be dependent on tourism. We want to be dependent on hospitality, on other sectors, right? So, or business hub, right? Just like Singapore is a finance hub, business hub for UAE as well. So, India has got human resources. India has got intelligent people. intelligent people. We have seen the examples in me. We have seen the example in Amlan. Quite smart, intelligent. Murgi pehle ya anda pehle, right? So they say that when you have such smart people in India, why not let's do business with them? Because we have finances, we have money, you have people, and further they understood we need technology, and India does not have that great technology. So let's conduct this with Israel, right? Let us rope in Israel also. Israel has got good technology, and let us have USA also. Why USA? Because USA has got the dominance, the power, the overpowering supremacy around the whole world. So USA, India, Israel, and UAE, all of them four conducted a new association. They formed a new association just the last year, and this is called as the new Quad: technology, human resources, finances, and outreach. All these countries together. So look at this from the extension, from the perspective of India's extension of business to Middle East and other areas. Once they reach to Middle East, there's also further inroads to Africa, north of Africa. Imagine that. So advantages are not less. There are quite a few. But on the other hand, when you look at ASEAN, SAARC countries only, hardly any trade. Hardly. These data is old data, but then still we are stuck at $2 billion, around $2-3 billion trade, organized trade with Pakistan. A lot of it is illegal. $8-9 is illegal. And then Sri Lanka, $5 billion, Nepal, $3 billion, and total SAARC partners is around $17 billion. Whereas India's total trade is $900 billion. $900 billion, around 350 of export and around 600 of 400, 500 of imports. With SAARC not doing well, but there's a lot of potential with other countries. So let me show you the map of the image where we talk of the potential of trade with the other countries, right? The data is not accurate, mostly accurate, but it will give you a great understanding of the figures, right? So this is 2019-20 data, a couple of years back, but then still will give you a good understanding about where we stand. Our largest trading partners are UAE, USA and China, and third level is UAE. Largest in the Middle East, and third largest is UAE. Look at the trade balance. The total trade with USA and China is around $100 billion each, around $100 billion, and then comes UAE with $60 billion. And then we have a trade surplus with USA. That is what Trump would keep cribbing about. No, your motorcycles, itne saste kyun hain? Our motorcycles, Harley Davidson, our cars, Tesla, why so much of taxation? Increase your outreach of our food processing, especially the milk products. India says no. And on the other hand, we have China. Look at the kind of trade balance, negative. It is hugely negative. We import a lot from China, right? We speak of competing, but look at the kind of dependence that we have with China. But UAE is such a small country, is at the third level, right? Because we import a lot, we export a lot to them. And that is why if we have a free trade agreement, there will be further competition in the resources that we provide. There will be further access to these resources, inroads, and then India's product will be further used by other countries. And then after that, we have other countries: Saudi, Switzerland, Germany, Hong Kong, Indonesia, South Korea. So when you look at a country like South Korea, see in the total trade of $20 billion, we are importing $15 billion and we are exporting only $5 billion. What does it indicate? A huge loss, and we have conducted a CEPA with South Korea. Look at that. Not very advantageous. We look at Malaysia, look at Nigeria, look at Qatar, all Japan, $10 billion of trade, $15 billion and $10 billion we are important, and we have conducted a CEPA. So these are the places where we did not understand that it is not only outreach, it is not only reaching out, access to the market, it is also about the kind of technological progress they had, right? So this is something to learn from, right? The kind of mistakes, not a problem, but you should also see the kind of dependence some countries have on us. For example, exports from these countries to India, 95% exports from Bhutan to India. Afghanistan 56% imports, Nepal 53%, Mozambique, Ghana, Tanzania, Iraq, UAE and Nigeria. If these countries are exporting so much to India, that means the bilateral engagement is strong. That means we should conduct these kind of exercises, free trade agreement with these countries: Ghana, Tanzania, Mozambique, Nigeria, all African countries, Guinea, right? All of them African countries. So these are focused new areas, focused new products in these areas. We should diversify. Similarly, imports by these countries from India. If Bhutan is importing 90% products from India, Nepal's around 70%, Sri Lanka, Burundi, Mauritius and Tanzania all of these African countries or Asian countries, right, or our neighbors. So we should look at further harnessing this by what? By ensuring that ठीक है थोड़ा सस्ता कर देते हैं, let us make them further economical. If we make this economical, they will be further bound to do trade with us. Imagine that, right? So that will be a very good change. So when you see the South Asian countries and share of India and China doing the trade with Bangladesh, look at this. China does double the trade as compared to India. Don't look at this graph. This says $19 billion and $10 billion, right? $10 billion by India, 19 by China. Similarly, if you look at Pakistan, around $20 billion of trade with China and only $2 to $3 billion with India. Similarly, with Myanmar, India only does $2 billion of trade. On the other hand, Myanmar $16 billion with China, right? With other countries, with Nepal, India has the upper edge. With Bhutan, India has the upper edge. With Sri Lanka, it is almost at par with each other. But with important stakeholders who are Bangladesh, who are Pakistan, and who are Myanmar, China is the one which is playing the supreme factor, right? Although our neighbors primarily, but China is the one which is handling their business well, right? So this is the update. This is the update for you people. And when we look at UAE again, not only this partnership, the new Quad, this is also about the renewed partnership in the Middle East region only. When they formed Abraham Accords, we had UAE, Qatar, Israel, important countries, and if they are in trading with each other, it is providing further inroads to India. So if presently the Tapi pipeline is not going ahead, or relations with Afghanistan is not going better, so that we are able to access the inroads in Central Asia, so let's exploit this. Not a problem, we are doing that. And look at this, the kind of import that UAE demands from us: textile, gems, leather, plastic, wood, pharma, engineering products, all of them are labor intensive. All of them. Textile industry, completely labor intensive, right? Leather industry, labor intensive. Wood industry, labor intensive. Gem and jewelry, Surat is the capital, labor intensive. So this is a major achievement for India to have conducted this kind of pact with them. And on the other hand, they say for further stability, we will give you more investments, especially to some areas, healthcare, hospitality, right? Funds in tourism, logistics, food parks, all of them with India. So what a beautiful step, yeah. Worth appreciation. Oh yes, India's first IIT to be created outside is in UAE itself. First IIT outside India will be UAE. Why? Because when people go there, they will also study. India's Institute of Eminence, Excellence also should be out of the country, right? So look at the kind of partnership. The good example here is USA, complementarity. The good example of creating further inroad is UAE with India, right? So this is a quick understanding of these two countries. Now let us quickly understand what is we've also explained the kind of increase in the kind of treaties and agreements. So from a preferential agreement we move on to FTA, and after that CEPA and economic union, right? Custom union, economic union, and political union, right? So this is how the integration happens between the country. We have explained it right over here, right? There are issues of rules of origin that must be seen. There are issues of the trade, the internal trade that that the custom union have between themselves with India. Vietnam is the right example. That example is a live example. Vietnam with Malaysia and Indonesia would be able to trade in plastics far easier than India. India does export plastics. UAE is going to ask for plastics, but Vietnam finds plastic easier for it to import from Malaysia and Indonesia, right? Most favored nation is another principle, right? Most favored nation means we have to provide these kind of relaxations. If we provide them to Pakistan, we have to provide this to all the other countries at least, right? So part of the World Trade Organization treaties. One thing to note is that WTO, if we are not able to have a global level of treaty for reduction of taxes, then we should conduct multilateral agreements. If we are not able to conduct multilateral, then we should look at minilateral, small agreements, small m. And if we are not even able to look at that, we should look at bilateral agreements. This is what India is doing. But this is further, undermining the global agreements or multilateral treaties. All right, so be it, no problem, because these are the ones which are going to cater or help India's intensive agriculture, right? Human-driven agriculture or the human-driven industries. Right. So uh, importance of FTAs, competition in global level. As I mentioned, if those countries are trading with us, provide them at further cheaper levels, because we can scale the product, and this will provide better competition at global levels. Enhance growth and presence in the market, more dynamic business climate, right? We will have more dependence of our products for the whole world. This is what China has done, right? We will have further expertise and technology transfer, and all these things. Not only that India will be doing it, India will also be gaining them, expertise, technology transfer. If we are doing the trade with the with USA, in the process USA will say, might say that your labor is cheaper, allow us to settle our dairy farms in India itself. Further investments, because of trade, it provided further investments in India, cheaper product for USA only, right? So outsourcing the issues. Yesterday only Hima said that many of the developed countries, they have shifted their industrial bases to developing countries. It has caused pollution. Yes, that's true. On the other hand, it has given employment to us. On the other hand, it has also transferred the technology. It has also given finances to people. It has made people grow to a level. So see, there are advantages. Yes, this is a mixed bag, no doubt it is. So this is where we need better technology transfer, so that that level of pollution also is curbed. What you can do that, how you can look at it, is from providing case studies in the answers or solution. What is the solution? Say that India is still building up, India has imported technology from France or Germany to clear the municipal waste, right? So these are the case studies. You can say that yes, there has to be a middle path of working all of this out, right? So what has been the performance so far? Underperforming export, I showed you with ASEAN countries. Underutilization of trade pacts, right? So India's trade pacts are not utilized. We have access to the market, but it is not very productive, right? Blinkered vision, not sure about the complete scenario. So we have overemphasis on the market, but we are not looking at other issues. For example, intellectual property or mutual recognition certificates, right? Or absence of packaging and labeling. Now these are the non-tariff barriers, NTBs. If we do not provide adequate labels or packaging to stuff, our product is not accepted outside. It is as simple, right? So mangoes have come back because they found that they were not good in quality. Rice has come back to us, right? Because they found that genetically modified rice was also given to them. So and then mutual recognition certificates, the certificates that are provided in India, they're not accepted there. So let us have unified norms, right? Complicated trade financing. This is where integrated border check post also plays a significant role. Integrated border check posts are not only for checking the people. This is also a place. This is not only for security. This is also for customs. So checking the custom at every border, we have two government agencies, at least two government agencies. One is the custom, the other one is immigration, and the third one is the security forces, right? At the border areas. So their primary job, the customs primary job at integrated border check post, is that they ensure that the right products are sent and the wrong products are not sent. And this is where mutual recognition certificate plays a very vital role. If the certificates are recognized in both the countries, the products won't be stopped, right? So there are many places in India where we don't have integrated border check post only. We have a border check post only for security purposes and immigration. Custom, chalo, nikal gaya saman, it has gone. So what has it led to? It has led to overflow of such products in the market. Spaghetti bowl effect, we don't even know. We have conducted 15-20 agreement of these sorts and many trade agreements with many other countries, and we don't even know what is providing benefit to us and what is not. Data will be the one which will be the key for us to survive here, right? For example, India has separate CECA, comprehensive economic agreements with Singapore and Malaysia, which is also part of the India ASEAN CISA. No, so we don't know. Spaghetti, all confusion. What is India doing to strengthen its FTAs? Reviewing the FTAs, all right. Past mistakes, prayaschit. Strengthening the rules of origin, right? We have to have stronger rules so that we understand that these products are not valid in our country. There is no value addition of this product in Bangladesh. This is Chinese of origin. We will not accept it. So we need integrated border check posts, right? Customs. Going back to the traditional markets, all right. India, Africa. So focus newer economies, newer countries, and maintaining complementarity with the countries, right? So this is what is required. So when you look at the articles which have been covered previously, One of you had said that yes, we have covered the articles previously. Some of the links to these articles we have shared here. Domestic firms and free trade agreements. How domestic firms get impacted with free trade agreement. On one hand, there is advantage to some sectors. On the other hand, there is some issue to some sectors. Some good example of this is the agricultural market access only. The agreement on agriculture in World Trade Organization, that has not been accepted. There have been issues with these countries because of subsidy, because if India provides free access to market, there will be cheaper imports to us, agricultural imports, processed imports, and India's market, its own domestic market, will not be able to withstand it, right? One example I remember was that of the fishing industry, right? So when the WTO agreements came in, the traditional fishing, it stopped. People who had finances, who had better access to trawler boats, people who had better access to fishing nets, those are the ones who got it, who got the better trade, right? Comprehensive economic partnership agreement. We have covered quite a few articles. Early harvest deals. This is very much in news. India trying to conduct early harvest deals with Australia, UK, all those countries. What is it? So this is early harvest. मतलब कि fast खेती. Early harvest means those trade barriers which are creating hassles, we will do that later, we'll complete it later. But right now, if 5 products are the ones where we can provide relaxation, both the countries, let's do it. Why? Because we still want to prosper the economy. Instead of other people taking the advantage, let us do it by ourselves. What is the advantage with India? Advantage with India is that India says it is a democratic country. The value of labor is low. The value of land is low. Right? There is greater level of entrepreneurship, finances coming in India, a place with a lot of stability as compared to what is happening in Middle East, as compared to what is happening in other places in South Asia. Look at places in Central Europe, look at places in South America and Africa, far more stable, right? So this is why India says, allow us to be the destination where you can do your trades with, all right? So what did we study here? We understood the concept of trading. So how is the trading agreement, how does it proceed to become a complete political union, right? So we understood that particular process. We also understood what is the meaning of free trade agreement and what are its various components. So first component is trade in items only, and then services, and then movement of people beyond the border, investments, intellectual property, all of them. So how free trade agreement itself progresses. What are the advantages for a country like India? What are the issues with us, right? Traditional partners, and what are the issues with them, advantages. And then we also understood the example of USA and UAE. Good example, great example being looked at, UAE. We also understood what should be the way forward. Also some technical terms like countries of origin and some examples of Vietnam. All right. So if the question is, discuss the importance of FTA in foreign trade, or free trade agreement in foreign trade. What is the importance of free trade agreement? Why has India not been able to utilize the full potential of FTAs? All right. So when you look at the second part, you can mention the countries around India, right? The SAFTA, South Asian Free Trade Agreement, not being operative because of the kind of interrelationships, political relationships, turmoils with Pakistan, not developing Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, another issue in its own. So the kind of relationship that we have in neighborhood is tough to deal with. The kind of issues with the Southeast Asian countries, we have seen technological advance. So we just looked for an inroad, but we didn't understand the challenges that we would face. And what we needed was complementarity. What we needed was those places which had better demand for our products. So we found them now, we are doing that right now. So what have been the challenges? These are the challenges. Why has India not been able to utilize? Give the examples. Give the examples of Pakistan, give the example of Bangladesh, country of origin. Give the example of non-tariff barriers. Give the example, see, there are a lot of things that other people will not be able to do, what you people will be able to do. Your dedication and commitment to time should not go waste. So you should start looking at what I have said and also what is written here. For example, you look at that particular part where we are speaking of labeling and packaging requirements. Now, this is a technical point, not everybody would know. Absence of mutual recognition of certificates, complicated trade financing, right? The other issues, examples that I gave, they will stay in your mind because you have invested your time here. So through this, all I would like to say is that if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. Today is Friday. We will meet on Monday evening. Saturday is going to be very busy for you because you would be revising all that we have studied here, right? Revising this becomes very important because this will translate into your daily life, into your answers. Remember, we become what we consume. All right. So let us see what you people have mentioned here. I surrender. What is that? What is the conversation here? I will watch Our Planet. Zombie firms. Good. Vivek, I'll get it downloaded, uploaded in a while. Tejas. Yes, we also have a Tejas scheme. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Amlan. We also have a Tejas scheme in which we are helping in re-employing Indian youth. So 35 lakh of Indian youth, 35 lakh of India's population is residing in UAE itself, and they all came back to India during the times of pandemic, right? So upscaling their employment levels or reskilling them and sending them back to Middle East. Tejas is the scheme. Thank you for mentioning, Amlan. See, this is what happens when you revise training and in emirate jobs and skills. Very good example. China is doing illegal trade of makeup, toys, decoration, lights in India. Yes. Country of origin. That's the answer here. Thank you, Ashish, Netra, Amlan, Kriti, Vivek. Kanupriya says, Kanupriya, very good point presented. India definitely has a big market in Africa, but still no large export. See, when I showed you that particular part, when these African countries are dependent on India, why not conduct these kind of free trade agreements with them only, right? Look at this. Nigeria, Mozambique, Ghana, Tanzania, Burundi, Mauritius, Tanzania, all of them conducting so much of trade with India. We must have these kind of agreements, and India is looking at those opportunities right now. Negotiations. Hima, good night. Bye bye. See you on Monday. Thank you, everybody. But yes, you share some love if you like this initiative, and inputs please provide, but please prepare short notes. That is the most valuable. Your only resource during the times of distress will be your short notes, quick notes. And this is the time you must be hungry. I know you must be needing to go to speak to somebody and whatever it be. But what is of prime importance is that since the topic is hot in your mind, it will take just few minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes to be able to spot the important things and write it immediately, right? If you do not do it right now, it will take more efforts later on, and then probably you might even skip later. So do it right now, revise it at the night, and then towards the end of the week, and then we continue further Monday. All right. So thank you for participating. We will see you. Thank you and good night.